This means that, roughly speaking, only 3 million out of the 11 million Negroes who are qualified to vote take an active part. And the remaining 8 million remain voluntarily inactive. And yet it is this small minority, the 3 million Negro voters, who help determine who will be the next president. If who will be the next president can be influenced by 3 million Negro voters, it is easy to see why the presidential candidates of both political parties put on such a false show with the Civil Rights Bill and promises of integration. They must impress the 3 million voting Negroes who are the actual integration seekers. And if so much fuss is made over these 3 million integration seekers, what would the presidential candidates have to do to appease the 8 million non-voting Negroes if they ever decided to become politically active? They hold the balance of power. Who are the 8 million non-voting Negroes? What do they want? And why don't they vote? The 3 million Negro voters are the so-called middle-class Negroes, or high-class Negroes, or uppity Negroes, who are referred to by the late Howard University sociology professor E. Franklin Frazier as the black bourgeoisie, who have been educated to think as patriotic individualists with no racial pride whatsoever, who believe in and look forward to the future integrated, intermarried society that is constantly being promised to them by the Negro politician. And therefore, this integration-minded 3 million minority remain an active part of the white-controlled political parties. But it must never be overlooked that these 3 million Negro integration seekers are only a small minority of the 11 million qualified Negro voters. The 8 million non-voting Negroes are the majority, the downtrodden black masses. They have refused to vote. They've refused to take a part in politics because they reject the Uncle Tom approach of the clergy politician leadership that has been handpicked for the so-called Negroes by the white man himself. This clergy politician leadership does not speak for the Negro majority. They don't speak for the black masses. They speak for the black bourgeoisie, the brainwashed, white-minded, middle-class minority, who, because they are ashamed of their race, because they are ashamed of being black and don't want to be identified with black, they are seeking to lose this black identity by mixing and mingling and intermarrying and integrating with the white society. The race problem cannot be solved by listening to the white-minded, brainwashed minority. The white man must try to learn what the black majority want. The president would be wise to try and learn what the black masses want. And the only way to find this out is by listening to the man who speaks for the black masses. And I can declare to you tonight and to the entire world that the man here in America who speaks for the majority, the downtrodden, dissatisfied black masses, is this same man who so many thousands of our people are flocking toward to see and hear. This same Mr. Muhammad who is labeled by you as a black supremacist and as a racist and as an extremist. If the 3 million middle-class Negroes are casting their ballots for integration and intermarriage, what do the non-voting black masses who are in the majority want? Find out what the black masses want, and then perhaps America's grave race problem can be solved.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending upon the time that you're listening to this podcast. This is HRap. Welcome to the remastered or rebranded version of the End of the Bench. Going forward, both my shows will be called the End of the Bench because that is my brand name. But this will be the End of the Bench Build and Destroy each Saturday, and on Tuesday will be the End of the Bench Sports. Thank you for tuning in. As I say every weekend, this is a podcast. What that means is, plain and simple, a podcast is a version of on-demand entertainment. On-demand entertainment allows you to listen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and puts you in a position to never be able to miss my show. In the event that you want to tune in to my show, what I want you to do is go to Spreaker.com. Look up Built for this network, and you can choose from any of the shows that we have on the network. Then you can go to Spotify, you can go to iHeartRadio, you can go to Podcast Addict, Deezer, iTunes, and wherever you download your podcast from, and tune in, subscribe, leave a comment, good, bad, or indifferent, but please leave me 5 stars as a rating, especially on iTunes. It really doesn't make a difference how many subscribers I have. It's how many comments I get. That's how it is determined how popular I am. So haters, feel free. Show suck. I hate it. But just make sure you rate and give me a 5-star rating, and then say what you want to say. Hey, that's how it works. So you can even hate and participate and make sure my day is great. With that being said, what I want to do is acknowledge my ancestors and my family. Without them, there would be no me. And for every time I launch a show, what I do is this. I acknowledge my ancestors. I put them in a position of respect. If you acknowledge your ancestors, what they do is, in turn, send down protections and blessings to you. So, I acknowledge my family each and every show. The names are below. The Pollards, the Turners, the Battles, the Cottons, the Harpers, the Baileys, the Crisp, the Lansdowns, Williams, Liggins, Duncan, and Williams, and me, my sisters, my brothers, my mother, and my father out of the Williams clan. We are in the building. Today's agenda is a different agenda. As you heard, the ancestor Malcolm X, El Hajj El Malik Shabazz, or Malcolm Little, depends on when you met him in his life, right? He mentioned how, I posted that for a specific reason. He was talking about voting and the betterment of the entire community at large. You may agree or disagree with his methodology. You may disagree or agree with the people who he aligned himself with. But what you will never be able to disagree with is the concept of him surviving. Him surviving has everything to do with everything that he does. It's easy to disagree with Brother Malcolm and be like, hey man, he talked about this. You can call, as he stated, you can call him a black supremacist. As he stated, you can say whatever you want to say about how he handles his business. But one thing you'll never be able to question is his undying love for the community he's a part of genetically. A lot of people get upset with him because he speaks his mind about his folks. And it boggles my mind when people get upset with him that are part of his community. Now, it is a rare occasion that a clear-thinking person gets upset and disagrees with him. I've literally heard people from Muslim nations go, hey, I have a problem with Malcolm X. As a matter of fact, my dad gave me the book of Malcolm X when I was a little boy, and it was a pivotal point in my life. See, because the reason most people don't have an issue with him is this and only this. All he's speaking about is Survival of the fittest. Surviving in a situation to whereas everything in the world is against you. Period. Point blank, full stop, and go. That's all he's really talking about. And a lot of people get upset when you stand up for yourself. Because in order to stand up for yourself, that means they feel as if for you to be your own full person, they have to be less of who they are. And it just shows you the small-mindedness, the inability to be sincerely caring for someone, and the destruction that that person carries with them. And they'll tell you that they don't have an issue with you. And as you look at what's going on in the United States today, we are exactly where we were 55 years ago, 55 years ago. Or worse. Or worse. Because the funny thing was, 60 years ago, you knew that you were in the middle of a situation in which you were it was hoped that you couldn't thrive. 55, 60 years ago, you were in the middle of a situation to whereas you could not stand up for yourself. You could not afford not to support your family, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your aunt. And when I mean family, I mean your community. And 2019 and 2020, or hell, since the 2000s have started, you have a legion of people who will fight you, that look like you, that comes from the same background as you, and they will fight you because you said, hey, I need to make sure my house is clean first, and then I can help somebody else clean their house. Meaning I can need to fix my community before I fix yours. Or they not only will they fight you, they will join forces with the other side in order to defeat the concept of building up yours before you help other people build up theirs. And don't get me wrong, we've had terminology. There's been name calling and all that stuff since the beginning of the time. Uncle Tom, Sambo, Coon, things of that nature. But even though those terms were bandied about in our community, I'm not even talking about those people. You know, it's a young lady, it's a attorney general, it's a reporter, it's a sheriff, that they are doing a great job at what we would call that. But those are not the people that I'm speaking of. I'm talking about the people that get up and go to work every day, and they are in a fight to get away from people that look like us, because we don't want to do right, and we don't want to do this. And in their minds, they're a faction of people that just can't get it together. So I'm going to go on over to the other side because that's better. I'll even put my life at jeopardy. I'll even traumatize my friends and family members because it's better over there, and I got to do what's best for me and mine. Not even understanding what's really best for you and yours is to galvanize your community, work hand in hand, expand on your community, link up with people who look like you, strengthen that, and then, and only then, will you have the power, the intestinal fortitude, and the strength to fight for a fair wage, fight for fair education policy, fight for all the things that you claim that you're doing when you switch over to the other side.